Peace, family. My name is Vie Darling, the Cosmic Queen, and your intergalactic interpreter. And I had an insane sleep early this morning. I suppose you could say during the witching hour. I went to sleep around 4. And yeah, I had an astral invasion where I was assaulted, and I did not like that very much. So I wanted to tune into the energy and talk about whatever it is that's going on. We're coming out of eclipse season at this point in time, and I will also just make a reminder that I use true sidereal astrology. I am pulling up the astro calendar for this month just to look at the what are they called? To look at the aspects. But we're using true sidereal, which includes 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. I'm using True Sky to pull the chart for today at 7 a.m. because in Alpha, that is when the day begins. 7 a.m. everywhere, it doesn't matter. And I'm using the coordinates of Null Island. I always either use a 𝗂𝗀 point or Null Island because that is 0 degrees longitude and latitude. Don't show me this again. Oop. So let's get into it. I'm gonna pull some cards to start because I would like to get some information just about like what is going on. But I do feel like right now we are in the energetic portal. We're still coming out of that eclipse season energy, and I'm actually going to relate an anecdote. So at my job, like I work at a spa, one of my jobs, so we cannot wear like our outside shoes in the main space. So I had slippers that had my name on them, and they went missing right around the beginning of eclipse season, and nobody could tell me where they were. Nobody knew where they were. Nobody had seen them, and I just figured, you know, whatever, they're gone, like it is what it is. But they mysteriously reappeared where I left them yesterday. And I truly believe that like we were in one timeline before, we were in one reality before, and we are in a different one now. I truly believe that we do go in and out of different portals and realities, because what people fail to realize is that we like everything is happening at the same exact time. That is the quantum reality. Everything's happening at once. So if you have activated 4th dimensional consciousness, then you are, although your body is subject to time, you are existing in a well, once you get to 5D, actually you are existing in a level of consciousness that is outside of time. So what Spirit is saying is it's really important to start thinking in this way, and to stop becoming so fixated on linear time, and start understanding that time isn't linear, and start really getting into this space of the quantum and living a quantum life. It's reminding me of my childhood for some reason, but like, you know, when you're a kid and time really doesn't mean anything to you, that is like you could be doing something, it feels like you're doing it forever. It feels like maybe you've lived lifetimes in this other reality of play that you create, that you transport your friends to in your consciousness, and it's so real to you. This childlike wonder is what we're being encouraged to bring back right now. And that's going to be how we are able to best the matrix, because linear time and like being obsessed with what's happening in the 3D is that's what traps us in the matrix. And yes, that is something that's happening. It does hold gravity, no pun intended. It does hold weight. It matters, no pun intended, but it is not the end all be all. And it's really important to start recognizing that if you are in the 5D, if you are saying that you are living in this new earth reality, reclaiming your sovereignty and using your power, your voice, your words. The power of life and death is in the tongue, as they say. So using your power to speak life. You hold life within you. The divine spark is within you. In this realm that we are in, you speak life into it and you receive life back. I think that the specificity comes from whatever it is that life is to you. And I think what we're going to do is we're going to get some information about what to expect for October, but let's check in with the astrology for now. So 7 of Wands in the reverse. The spiritual attacks are ending because the work that you have done to elevate to this higher realm, like it has worked and they're not going to be able to access you. This is a lot of what has been going on with the eclipse portals. We're closing up signs, or we're closing up cycles. We are wrapping up karmic cycles and karmic loops that were untethered before, and I'm even hearing unhinged. The way, like, these frankly insane karmic loops, and remember that the Sanskrit word karma translates to the English word action. So we were living insane lives before, and when you live by the matrix, life is insane. And I know that it can feel like, okay, well, what do you expect me to do? I feel this so hard because, you know, I have lived by the matrix, and I have lived like outside of the matrix, just in flow, and I have invested plenty of time into doing my best to live in flow. And, you know, all I experienced from that were negative consequences in my material reality. It jeopardized my material well-being and security and safety. And that's not something that, like, we get the 4 of Pentacles. That's not something that, like, that's real. That really happened. With the 4 of Pentacles, this is saying that, like, you know, we're holding on too tight to that previous reality, though, because the truth is, like, it may have compromised my well-being in the immediate, but it's also important to remember, oh my God, this is so deep. Okay, so what this is saying is, like, you know how when we look out into the cosmos, what we see is actually, that's already happened. Like, what we see with our eyes, what we perceive with our eyes when we look into the cosmos, that is light that has been traveling to reach us for a very, very long time. So we're perceiving the past. And this is part of why I say, like, the material world is the final frontier, because the spiritual world, what's happening in the ethers, is actually much more, that is present. That's what's actually presently happening. And that's why we have to be, like, we're already in the ethers. We're already in the cosmos. Like, and that's why we have to stop living so much in the 3D matrix. I hope that that makes sense. I hope that y'all can understand, like, what I'm trying to express here, because I really don't know how else to explain it. If you don't understand quantum physics, I do have a playlist on my YouTube that is public. It's called Science is Cool, and I would encourage you to look at that. It has videos from not Khan Academy, but they're super easy to understand videos. Hold on, let me... Science is cool. From Crash Course Astronomy. So astronomy, we have light, we have astronomy, the fifth dimension explained, worlds beyond our own, higher dimensions, and things like that. So if you don't understand quantum physics, I do have that playlist, or you can just go ahead and look for Crash Course Astronomy yourself. But it's actually crucial for people to, like, for you to do that work for yourself to understand and understand, because for my part, I think that it's like incredibly difficult to understand esoteric principles and the idea of quote unquote manifestation. In the Aetherium, we call it co-creation, because that's what it is. We're co-creating our reality with the cosmos, with the universe, and with one another. So if it's really, really important for people to understand that and comprehend that right now. And so I would encourage you to do that research. But like on this side of the portal, you need to look at that. And right now, like, the spells are breaking, the curses are breaking. What was holding you hostage, what was holding you prisoner before is now breaking. That's now over. Especially, this is coming up for the collective, the Persephone collective. The Persephone collective, like, that cycle of having to go to the underworld and come back to the world of the living, having to go to the underworld and come back to the land of the living, because of the pomegranate seeds, that is over. Because like, I know that, like, some, like, Dark Star Astrology says, like, she believes that Persephone knew what she was doing when she ate the seeds of the pomegranate, and that she wanted to stay down there. And that may be so, but I actually feel like, you know, if you are somebody who grew up in a very strict, conservative, traditional household or culture, and you were very sheltered, things that you might expect, like, oh, like, how do you not know that? You know what I mean? Like people who are not so, people who are not, and also spirit, like, higher self, please slow it down so that I can, like, communicate this without rushing and without losing everything. Thank you. People who are more worldly, so to speak, who did not grow up in a sheltered upbringing, it might be very obvious to them, but those of us, and I'm speaking for myself because right now I am, like, it is coming to surface more and more that, like, I grew up in an evangelical Christian household, and that's not necessarily true for, like, all of my family, and we all went to the same church, like, my cousins on my mom's side, like, but their moms were not evangelicals. They had a different grandmother than myself, and because my mom is a supernatural being, because she's a magical person, I believe she's a 𝗪𝗹𝗪𝗪𝗪, but I haven't done the divination with a shrine priest to know that. And when you're working with traditional African spirits, like, certain spirits are not going to engage with you if you are not an initiate. That's their choice. Certain spirits, like, certain information in the universe has been encoded so that, like, people of certain bloodlines, if you're not of that bloodline, you cannot access it. If you are not initiated into these practices, you cannot access it. So do whatever you want, work with whoever you want, but there's always going to be some information that is off limits to you, and that's just true in life. But anyway, I believe that my mom is a 𝗪𝗹𝗪𝗪𝗪, and so she, as a seeker, was always going to these other churches and getting caught up in cults. She was always in a cult, like, it all the time as a kid, taking us to all different kinds of, like, churches. We went to a church when I was a kid that was, like, a Messianic Jewish church. We went to a church we went to many different African churches. Like, although she grew up Methodist, we were always also going to other churches that like the rest of our family wasn't. And also, so like that's something that like I'm recognizing for myself. And so when I say like I'm prefacing that to say like those of us, like I did grow up in a very sheltered way. I grew up in a family that never ever talked about sexual relations. We never talked about that in my family. Never talked about romance. Like that was anathema to talk about that with my brother, with my parents. Like that is not something that we talked about. And that was harmful because as I grew older, I didn't know certain things that would have kept me safe. I didn't know certain things that would have perhaps put me more in situations that I wanted to be in and kept me out of situations that I did not want to be in. And perhaps some of you can relate to this. Or perhaps not. But I do find that a lot of the Divine Feminine Christs, a lot of those who are of the 𝗪𝗂𝗃 collective, a lot of us grew up in very traditional, like, I want to say fundamental households. Like whether it was fundamental Christianity or fundamental like Islam or fundamental Judaism, if it was, you know, like very traditional, conservative, rigid structures, may even be evangelical, Orthodox, like, you know, you may have grown up Mormon, whatever it is, it's very restrictive, particularly of the feminine and controlling. And there's a lot of puritanical doctrine. It doesn't matter what religion you grew up in, or if you even grew up in a religion. Most of the like people of the 𝗪𝗂𝗃 collective that I know grew up in it would just be like very patriarchal and domineering towards femininity and very puritanical. And so this idea of like, oh, like, you know, Persephone, she had to have known, like she made that choice so that she could get away from her overbearing mother. I could definitely see that being in some part true. Like maybe there was some intuition that told her not to do it. But what I've also been recognizing is that like, I talked about this in the channeling that I did. I don't think that I put the whole thing on TikTok, but I do have the whole thing on YouTube. And I don't think that I sent this to the newsletter. So yeah, that's why it's important to be active on all of the platforms. I used to do lives on Instagram, then I switched over to YouTube, and now I'm back on TikTok. But we don't use the Instagram anymore, so that's like unnecessary. But I might make a 𝗪𝗏𝗡. Who knows? It's already hard enough to keep up with the platforms that I do have. But the point is, like, a lot of the Divine Feminine Christs, a lot of the 𝗪𝗂𝗃 collective, there's an itch that you have to scratch. Okay, so this is what I was saying. When I got a download about Kanye West and how he is the perfect example of a masculine who is possessed of the Jezebel spirit. And in Islam, there are certain spirits called 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. And 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪, I have Muslim family, I have Christian family, like, you know what I mean? And I do have family who, like, my grandfather was initiated into the Poro bush. I have family who's initiated into Afa, Poro, Sande, you know what I mean? And I also studied theology since I was in high school all the way through university. And I probably will end up going to seminary at some point. But, 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 are spirits, the whispering spirits. And so the whispering spirits, they whisper in the ethers to guide you to do certain things. Because the thing about jinn are just spirits. Not all jinn are bad, not all jinn are good. And the jinn are what in the UK, or rather on Britannia and Erie, they would call jinn fae, or the she, right? That's what people who don't know anything about fae call fairies. That's what they would call them. In Africa, we call them, energies, basically. These are like elemental spirits. So elemental of the ethers. They're in the ether. They're not necessarily usually like usually they're not manifest in the 3D, essentially. And so these 𝗧𝗧, like spirits have to have an incarnate being manifest their will for them. So what they do is 𝗧𝗧 in particular whisper to you in the ethers to coerce you to carry out their will. So when I got this download about Kanye West, it is about the fact that like when he was a small child, he happened upon illicit literature, let's say pornographic literature. And I was like thinking about this, and it's like, but this is actually a really common experience for a lot of children and a lot of people, where you just happen to find yourself finding something that is actually very like destructive for you. And yes, this could be a karmic contract, but it also could be that you are being guided by these spirits in the unseen to find this material. And I do feel like that is what happened to him, and that's what happened to a lot of people who have this same experience. And what this does to a child is it fragments your mind, because it's traumatic. Children are not supposed to engage with that kind of energy, that kind of information, because they are not capable of being able to handle it at their developmental stage. So this is part of why this is something that I talked about this when I did, if you go on to my TikTok, I think that I uploaded them to YouTube as well, but I have a series of TikToks about the Jezebel curse, and you can see that all on there. Like, I talked about this like when I was walking in Soho, and like one of the things that I noticed, like there's this big billboard on Houston, and I feel like Houston and Mercer, and it's I think that it's like primarily rented out by Calvin Klein, but there was like a lot of the time when it's like guys modeling on the billboard, it will be like nude, right? Or half, like pretty much nude. And one time I was walking and I saw it was like Jeremy Allen White, and just imagine, I find him extremely unattractive. Just imagine that, like, hi. So just imagine that you're seeing like this person's junk, and like it is not even the size of me, like bigger than me, right? That is forcing me to engage with sexuality in a way that I did not consent to that. I don't want that in my life. And so I was walking down another street. I was walking parallel to Canal Street, walking to the Canal A, and I saw an ad for groceries, and it was another man who was, or like male, who was basically nude, and he had like an egg carton in front of his junk. And it's like, why do we need to have a nude person to sell groceries? Like, you don't really even need to sell groceries. People are gonna get groceries regardless. Like, why do you need to have this man in an sexual capacity to sell it the size of my freaking apartment building? You know what I mean? And children are seeing things like this, and it is encoding our psyche. It is encoding our consciousness with this sexuality, to be overtly sexual and to be, overtly sexual and explicit and hyper sexual. And so this is why people have this transgressive, this is underlying grape. This is underlying that culture and sexual depravity and misery, because at a very young age, it's all around us. It's all in the media. Mind you, I'm a media studies major in the foremost media studies program in the country. There is not a better media studies program in the United States than the one that I am in doing my master's. So this isn't just like, oh, I think this is the case. I also studied media in undergrad as my minor. I was a film and media studies minor, okay? This isn't something I'm just making up. I study this in the institution of higher education. So please understand, like, this is real. Okay, and I'm seeing a lot of people struggling to understand misinformation versus like the reality. And this is why, and this is part of that issue where people can say the truth and you can be like, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. It's not a theory, it's a fact. Actually, if you've studied marketing, you know that this is factually true. You know that they spend billions of dollars to understand the human psyche, to manipulate and control you. They don't even need 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪𝗧 whispering spirits to do it, because they know how to manipulate the human body and the reptilian brain, the basal ganglia, which is something I've known since I was a child because my sister studied marketing and PR. In fact, in Africa, she was the head of the West African marketing and PR for one of the foremost cell phone companies, Orange. So please, this is a global thing that is going on, phenomenon, and it's been something that they have known for over 100 years, factually, in terms of marketing and PR, over 100 years. And we have proof and evidence of that. So why am I bringing all of this up is to say that, you know, these, not only are we being guided towards things subliminally in our consciousness, and that's something that we need to be aware of, but also in the realm of spirit, these 𝗧𝗪𝗧𝗪 whispering spirits in the ethers guide you to find certain things. I know for me, that was my experience, or rather, like, I was exposed to things that I should not have seen at a young age. That was true. But also there were times when I would just like happen upon something as if I were guided to it, or as if I was magnetizing it. So that's where the idea of karmic, our karmic contracts, where we agreed to have certain experiences so that we could transmute them for the collective. This is why a lot of those of us who identify as earth angels, a lot of us who identify as chosen ones, we manifested into certain lineages. Oh God, there are like all these flies in my trash can. I don't know what I had in there, but so somebody, like, this is a message also, like, it's time to take out the trash. It's time, and that goes back to what I was saying with the Seven of Wands in the reverse and the Four of Pentacles in the direct position. It's time to take out the trash. It's time to take out, you know, you might think that there's nothing in there that's going to attract, like, gnats. It's gnats, a bunch of gnats in the trash can. But it's actually, and I identify those as, like, malevolent entities and energies. They're not high ranking by any means, but they are annoying and they are indicative that there's something that needs to go. So we might have experiences in our lives. This is exactly what I was saying. We might have experiences in our lives that we are holding on to because we feel like they define who we are. We don't know who we would be without these. Oh, yep, spirit. I'm reading myself right now too. We don't know who we would be without these experiences. We feel like if we let go of that previous identity that was defined by, frankly, our sickness, our depravity, our fear, you know, our trauma programming, we don't know who we'll be. And we hold on to those so rigorously because we feel that if we don't, I just want to find the Seven of Wands because I shuffled it back into the deck, but I want to take it out so that it doesn't like come back out again. Actually, you know, if it does, it does. We feel that if we don't have that, we're going to be put in a position of unsafety again, put in a position of danger again. But here's what is being communicated to me. Through this eclipse portal, we are in 5D, honey. We're in 5D. Those of us who've made it to the other side, many were called, few were chosen, and even fewer will succeed in the mission that we agreed to. You have to understand, like, and if you're like, oh, like, well, I'm just a so-and-so person, I'm just this person, I'm just that person, like, no. You had to, some of us had to come into the worst of the worst situations to be able to transmute them. And that is why, if you're an earth angel, you are Nephilim. You are Nephilim, point blank, period. Because we had to incarnate into the hybrid lineages. We had to incarnate into the vampiric lineages to rescue the original Lemurian codes, to rescue the sacred divine lineages, and resurrect them. Is not Christ the force of resurrection? The living waters, to bring that back to these lineages that have fallen. My lineage, personally, I am a descendant of the Metatronic line, Enoch, who was ascended and made into the Archangel Metatron. And I used to wonder, like, well, they say that Metatron is fallen. Does that mean I'm bad? Does that mean I'm evil? First of all, I chose to incarnate into this family. Like, I do not believe that I definitely, like, have some relation to them, but, like, I don't think that I really know these people like that, like, in the spiritual sense. Like, this is the most incarnate I've ever been on earth. Like, the vibration and frequency of consciousness that I am now, like, this is the most concentrated I've ever come to earth before, because I had other stuff going on, you know, in the spirit realm. I know that I have other lifetimes that I've been here, but, like, I'm those people's oversoul. I was not them personally, so that's why I have their memories. We had to come here because of what was happening on this planet. It's so bad because this is the gateway. This is the doorway. I believe that Earth is the gateway between the hell realms and the upper realms. We know that, like, there were pressures put on Earth to keep the things that were happening here in the 3D from affecting the higher realms, because what was happening was so bad. And this is actually something that my friend Armand, 𝗵𝗱𝗁𝘁 𝗂𝗪 2.0, I think is their handle on TikTok, so go follow them. This is something that I saw them talking about, that and I've heard other people talk about this too, but that yes, this phantom matrix was encroaching upon our universe, and the starting point, the gateway, the threshold is Earth. That's why there are so many of us who have incarnated at this time. It was a plan to flood this timeline, to flood this place now with so many of us that there would be no option but to raise the frequency. That's why there's so many of us now. That's why people are like, oh, well, everybody has this disorder, everybody has that, like, oh, we're all a little bit this, we're all a little bit that. Well, that's because we've done our job by raising the frequency. So yes, everybody's nervous system is that much more sensitive for the most part. But that does not mean that everybody is an earth angel. That does not mean that everybody is a starseed. We're just doing our job, and we've been doing it for generations at this point. Okay? And I also feel like this is something important to say, because, like, going back to that idea of, like, contracts and coming out of these contracts, and, you know, I think to myself, I used to feel very resentful of my higher self for making the contract to come here and experience the suffering that I've experienced. And I felt very resentful of my higher self because I didn't think that I was going to make it. I didn't think that there was any way that I could make it through what I was going through. But I also know that when I came here, I made a contract that my higher self would be able to to veto my decisions as an incarnate person. So my higher self, it felt like my life wasn't my own. Like I was trying so hard to do the things. I did everything the way that it was supposed to be done. You know what I mean? Like, and I was not reaping those benefits. Like, why isn't it working for me? I keep doing what I'm being guided to do and it's not working. You keep telling me to do this and it's not working. And that is because I had to fulfill my mission. So some of us, our higher self has ultimate voting power on what we do in this realm, where we go. Like I've talked about this before, when I moved to Baltimore, like I didn't want to go, but I knew that I had to go. And my higher self, my spirit team made it so that like there was really no choice but for me to have to leave New York and to go there, because I personally carried the codes that were necessary to do the grid work in that space. And I made that contract and I had to fulfill it. And then after I was done with that, I was able to leave and come back. So that's another thing. Hell yeah, I believe that most disabilities are psychic. Yes, and also manifestations of the abuse that many of us experienced in our lineages. And a long time ago, I heard somebody who, I don't follow her anymore because I do think that she's subject to a lot of psyops and false light information. But this I do believe is that like a lot of us chose to incarnate into like these really dark reptilian lines in order to save them, and it's really hard. And she was talking about that being in like other star systems or on other planets, but I think that's what many of us did here. And I know that that's what I did here. Now that I know about my family of origin, or rather my biological family, they're vampires. Like they're descendants of vampires. So it's time to let go of those old narratives and those old ways of being, because we fulfilled our contract. And like I was talking about in terms of the quantum, when we look out into space, what we're seeing happened a long time ago. It just took the light that long to travel here. Light is both a wave and a particle. So light carries matter. It is called the cosmic messenger. We are light, literally, but we have slowed down so much to this density that we are what is called physical. This is why you have in different forms, in different states of matter, they are more fluid, they are more aqueous. We have water, we have gas, we have solids. And that's also, I believe, why like with sublimation going from solid to gas, and the sublime, which is the spiritual, the etheric, essentially. Those of us who are, what I'm picking up is those of us who are transmuters, we are alchemists, we are of the sublime. And it's important for us to be aware. We've had to pick up these subliminal programmings, this information that's floating around in the ethers. That's the telepathic information. That's why it's so loud. Literally, New York City has a different decibel than everywhere else on Turtle Island, because it is so loud here. That's part of what light pollution is doing as well. It's making it so that we can't pick up the information, the light codes that are just on the planet and from the cosmos. Naturally, they are just here, and we wouldn't need to learn. That's how our ancestors knew how to survive, because they could pick up those codes with their antenna, their body. Your body is just a bunch of different, like, basically antenna that are tuned to certain frequencies. The eyeball can pick up the visible light, but your ear is not necessarily perceiving visible light. Your eardrum is perceiving sound waves, right? So it's different information is carried on different frequencies. And this is why Sunny knows, like, I put, like, my favorite image ever is like different like waves and like wave spectrums. Yes, especially endometriosis and estual trauma. Yeah, I truly believe that this epidemic of endometriosis and just different things that are happening to the female reproductive system, as it is referred to, I truly believe that so much of that is the metastasization of misogyny and cis heteropatriarchy. And there's also a lot of prostate cancer. Honestly feel like so many people with prostates experience prostate cancer. Like, I know so many people with prostates of a certain age who experience that. And my dad had it, my uncle had it, and yeah, I think that that's part of why. Phase shifting between identity states happens in those shifts as well from a system perspective. Phase shifting between identity states. I would love if you could expand upon that, because also I forgot what I was saying. What I was saying whenever you wrote that. Our ancestors, the Lemurians, could perceive of that because they were always in communication with the earth. Now there are a lot of non-earthlings, let's say, on Earth, and that is also part of the hybridization, like the hybridization of lineages. Which, hi, I'm a hybrid, so like it's not to say anything's better or worse. Like, it just is right now. We are transmuting all of the trauma of what has happened on this planet. Gas to liquid. Okay, yes. To plasma to solid. Phase shifting. Each of those is at a different speed. So each of them works at a different speed. Yes. I am picking up what you're putting down. But my body needs to metabolize it before I can communicate, because I'm picking it up in the light realms. Each of those is at a different speed. Yes. So when we are transmuting, like, different aspects of our personality can come up, and also memories, different memories in the body, because and so our bodies are like, it's just like being on a menstruation cycle. Like, when you're in the luteal phase, it is much better to be in rest. When you're in ovulation, we're very active, we're very vigorous. So this is the same. If you are an alchemist, one needs to build their life around these phases. And I do think that being an alchemist, one will be more in tune with the feminine. Something's coming in here about gold. Archangel Gabriel, I feel, is coming in here. Actually, Archangel Gabriel is one of my family gods. So like my lineage is descended from Archangel Gabriel, who I don't know really much more about what that means, but I actually saw Archangel Michael's energy come in, but Archangel Gabriel is what came out. So maybe both of those. I'm seeing green, I'm seeing white, and I'm seeing gold. And what I'm being told is like, yeah, I'm being reminded that all of us can fall at a certain point, in a lineage becomes fallen when the higher ranking members of the lineage, if they're the oversoul of the lineage, and this is spiritual lineage too. This is for those of us who are oversouls of a collective, which many of the people who follow me are, which is probably part of why my collective is smaller and more niche. If we fall, our entire collective falls. If we take on karma, our entire collective takes on karma. So what I want to say is if you are worried that your collective isn't going to make it, if certain people in your collective, okay, I'll just make an example for myself. Literally what is like communicated to me as my daughter, like, it is because I'm her oversoul and she is the oversoul of our collective, of a lower rung. And she's my spiritual daughter, and I know her in person, and we are friends. And I worry about her. I worry about her because I know that there are certain things that, like, you know, I'm like, I wish that you would just get this because it would be so much better for you. But it's like, I don't need to worry about her because she is going to get it because I got it already. So I know that she's going to get it, if that makes sense. That's something that somebody needs to hear. Don't worry about these people because they're going to get it. And also with this Four of Pentacles energy, for our lower selves is what I'm hearing. We don't need to communicate to your inner child that you don't need to be afraid of, if I let go of these memories and these defense mechanisms and these coping mechanisms, then I might get hurt again. You don't need to be afraid of that, because letting go of the pain doesn't let go of the lesson. You only let go of the lesson. You can never let go of the lesson, actually. You know it. But if you decide to self-betray, that's different. And more of the self-sabotaging comes from obsessing over the lesson and holding on to it longer than it needs to be held on to. It's time to accept that certain things happened and let them go ritually. I think this is definitely a message for me, because I just am like, how am I going to let this go? Like, I'm trying to let it go. I'm trying to get over it, but it just seems to like not want to go ritually. It's encouraged to create a ritual that will allow you to let it go. I'm also hearing, I'm also going to shout out Ari's grid working sessions on Zoom, because that is group energy work where you get to work with people who are extremely powerful, and, you know, have good intentions. But I know for me, like doing contrast therapy, I think I talked about this in either, I think I may have talked about this in the latest newsletter that I sent out, but doing contrast therapy released from my nervous system, from my body, traumatized energy and DNA that I would not have ever been able to release through talk therapy. The progress that I have made, the timelines that I have jumped, the power that has returned to me from letting go of that trauma through contrast therapy, doing the sauna and then sitting in an ice bath for 2 minutes and breathing through it with breath work, I would not have been able to ever achieve with talk therapy, period. The progress that I made from doing EFT tapping with the clinician that I worked with, Regina, I'll put her information in my next newsletter. It's called The Mysteries. The link is in all of the captions on my TikToks and also on my YouTube, but it's on Substack. Yeah, the work that I did with Regina, like, I would not be at the level that I'm at if I hadn't done that EFT tapping with her. And I do believe EFT tapping might be something that came from traditional Chinese medicine, if I'm remembering correctly. So it's time, once again, coming back to this idea of like what was encouraged now on the other side as we come out of eclipse season, and that is as we come out of the tunnel. We were in a tunnel going towards the 5D. Some of us were born in the 5D, and our frequency lowered from indoctrination, from trauma. And that was something that like had to happen, because that was how we learned how to transmute the 3D back to the 5D. And now we are back because we've been let through the threshold. I've talked about this before as well. I'm going to finish this thought though. Now that we're in the 5D, it's time to let go. This is a Bible verse. When I was a child, I thought as a child did. And now I think as an adult, we'll say, as an adult, I think as an adult does. We've developed wisdom through our transmutation experience. It's It's time to let go of the matrix way of doing things. This is why it's time to let go of that trauma. Like I said, I know, like, I did all of the things in the 3D and in the 4D, like in terms of manifestation and consciousness, and also in the 3D to achieve the things that, like, I was told, I knew were, like, meant for me, or I was supposed to do. I tried it the mundane way, never worked for me because I'm not mundane. And I also did, like, all of the things in terms of, like, manifestation, following my heart, like, not investing any energy into the 3D and just pursuing what I knew I was supposed to be doing. And I didn't get the material 3D things that I was expecting that I should get back, but that's because the progress wasn't necessarily in the 3D. I was jumping timelines. I was leaving states of consciousness. I was leaving, you know, like I said, hell realms, yes, in the physical body. Like, I was experiencing the hell realm in my physical body in the 3D in that way. But, like, that's because I went to a hell realm in the ethers, or really in the 4D is what I'm hearing. I think that it's in the plasma. In the plasma is what I'm hearing. So it was in my blood, in my DNA. Generative is what I'm hearing. And I had to go and I had to break that curse. This is the satanic vampiric curse that is in the land. Root works in the land. This is like African magic that was used for evil to create the contracts and to create the structures that of the United States of America. The blood sacrifices through transatlantic slave trade, through the G side of the indigenous Americans, through the Civil War, all that good stuff. I have channelings about that on my YouTube page from back last summer, or 2 summers ago at this point. So watch those if you want to know more. I'm not going to get too deep into that, but had to transmute that in the plasma, had to transmute that in the DNA, in the blood. So now all of that work that I generated in the ethers, doing all of that manifestation work, now all of that is going to be able to come to us because I have gotten rid of the barriers to receiving. I didn't do anything in my past life to deserve this. I chose to come into these lineages to do the work. And that's why I received the promise. And I do feel like that's a message. It's a message. Someone needs to hear that. Because you may have been on the verge of giving up. And you may be holding on to those memories. I'm going to speak from my experience. I still feel like, you know what, I'm not even going to try anymore. I don't feel like it's worth trying, even though I know that I'm supposed to be a celebrity. I know that, I've tried that. And I've also tried being normie and having a 9-to-5 job. And I always wanted to unalive myself. And my career was going so well, everything, I was doing all of these collabs, blah, blah, blah. And then it just stopped. It went, it was ripped away from me. Well, that was in the beast system. And I was being protected from going too far into that system before certain things would happen to me and I wouldn't be able to fulfill my mission because of, what have you, whether it be my choices or things that would have happened to me. And I didn't need to be in that system anymore. I got all the information I needed. Now that we are out of the beast system, I'm seeing we slayed the dragon. And that language is fraught, but the problem is that the divine feminine, the planetary consciousness was whole, but from the evil that was done to this planet and this encroaching upon of this planet by these invaders, or this universe by these invaders, so it's not just the planet, but it's the universe. It is this cosmos, this galaxy, but this universe, because it's a multiverse, right? That fragmented the feminine, because when we experience trauma, we become fragmented. So yes, there is the shaitanic or the sick, toxic feminine. And there is also the toxic. Either way, if you're living in duality, you have to integrate, period. That's all that it comes down to. Integrating the dark and the light. And understanding that that exists because, not because of a choice, but because of what was done to a body. So understand, like, I downloaded this one time before, like, my ancestors were like, yeah, you knew what could happen, but it wasn't guaranteed that it would happen. Because people have free will. So that's also something to understand. Someone needs to hear. You didn't do anything to deserve this. Nobody deserves this necessarily. It is a byproduct of this abuse. So you can let go of those past experiences now that we have slayed the dragon. And this is that like when I think about the basal ganglia, the reptilian brain, this is the survival mechanisms, like those. Okay, so think about it in the North Node and the South Node, which is represented by a dragon in astrology. We are meant to triumph over our South Node behaviors by reaching to the North Node behaviors. So if you have South Node in Scorpio, North Node in Taurus, you might be too obsessive. You might be codependent. You might be operating from a scarcity mindset. And you are being called perhaps to allow yourself to experience more gentleness in life, fulfillment, overflow, abundance, luxury. And it might be that, like, you think that things that are normal, like birthright stuff, things that you should just be experiencing, you might think that these things are luxurious. Being able to take care of you, that's because of the abuse of capitalism as a pillar of colonialism. And when I talk about colonialism, yes, I say Euro-colonialism, but it's not. It's the attempted colonization of this planet. Because these European powers are not the only colonizers. Japan also colonized. The history of this epic of Earth is colonization because of what happened in Lemuria and previous epics of this planet. And that's what's happened in the larger cosmos because of this attempted overtaking of this universe. So, joy is your birthright. Because we've been indoctrinated to think work, work, work. Our job, we have a job here. We have a contract here. Can you say that again about North Node and South Node? I mixed that up. I will say it again. Yes. African magic is foundational to us because it's just Lemurian magic. Like I said, like our ancestors knew how to interact with the planet. Because the planet, we are the planet. We are the little walking, talking planet. You know what I mean? If I came from Venus in a Venus body, I would not be able to survive on Earth because I'm Venus. But I'm Earth. And so, yes, we were able to talk and engage with the larger consciousness, the planetary consciousness. And we knew what to do and what not to do. We knew what was for us and what wasn't for us. We knew how to use electromagnetism, magical energy. And the fact of the matter is, some of us are more electromagnetic than others. And that's why we can control the ethers. That's why we can control the elements. Point blank period. And it doesn't mean, oh, that person ain't worth a penny on the ground. That's not what that means. It just means that some of us have more power to control electromagnetism than others, and to control the element of magic. Magic is an element. So it is foundational to U.S. colonialism and Euro-colonialism. I'll actually also say, I made a TikTok about 𝗂𝗓𝗃, the I guess the European name, I don't know if it's like the French name, I think, is Baphomet. 𝗂𝗓𝗃 was what is a god of the 𝗂𝗵𝗱 people, or an archetype, because these are archetypes. They are higher consciousness. And so 𝗂𝗓𝗃's throne was in Ghana. And 𝗂𝗓𝗃 abandoned Ghana because one of the kings he was willing to sell the throne to the European colonizers. I guess maybe what I'm picking up, this is not necessarily the story that my teacher told us, but so when they came to Africa, they took all of our artifacts. They did this everywhere they went. They took all of our spiritual artifacts to steal our magic, to steal our power, because they're not from here. And this isn't to say that all Europeans are not, that's not true at all. It is specific lineages that are not from here, that are vampiric, that are manifesting through bodies, and that are doing these things. So what they did is they took the artifacts to be able to try and use them. And because this prince or this king gave the throne willingly, 𝗂𝗓𝗃 said, all right, well, I'm abandoning you all. Since you want to abandon me, I'll abandon you. And this is the karma that you will experience for not honoring our pacts. When we incarnate, we make pacts. It doesn't matter. You make a certain pact with Earth if you incarnate on Earth. If you were to incarnate on a different planet, you would make a pact, an exchange. So this is something that Ari and I were talking about. As a mami wata, there are certain things I can't do. I can't wear black because on Earth, if I wear black, certain energies and entities can they can become attracted to me and latch onto me, and they cause me harm. Yesterday, I forgot to do what I have to do in order to protect myself from that energy, and I did wear black because I have to wear black at work, and I experienced an astral attack that I really haven't been experiencing these attacks since I stopped wearing black. That much is true. I can't wear red for that reason. So we make these pacts when we incarnate on Earth, and it is a byproduct, I'm downloading, it is a byproduct of the nature of our personal spirit and our contracts. But mainly it's our personal spirit as it manifests on a certain planet. That is important to understand. So, however, what's happening in the Euro-colonial empire that includes Canada, New Zealand, Australia, the United States, and these European countries, what's happening is they are falling because 𝗂𝗓𝗃 has left them and gone back to Africa. That is in part why our artifacts they're not artifacts. They're not artifacts. These are sacred spiritual items, and they are generational heirlooms that belong to families as well. That's why these things are being sent back finally from the British Museum and from all of these places, because they have to send them back. They have to, by order of these energies that they made pacts with. And part of that is they were able to do these things because they had these artifacts or these objects. And also some of them made pacts with energies that are so low vibrational, they're in the 2D, they're in hell, and because we've shifted frequencies up, they can't be accessed anymore. So yeah, I mean, at any given point in time, the spirits are just like humans. If they want to do something that's negative, they do it, and then they become fallen. If they want to resurrect themselves through Christ consciousness, they do it, they rise again. And that's just the nature, I guess, of consciousness. About North Node and South Node. Okay, so the North Node and South Node is represented as a dragon in the chart. That's why it's always sister signs. I used my signs as an example. The South Node is essentially karma that it maps the journey that you take through energy and energetic archetypes in your lifetime. So the South Node is energy that you came into this life with. What I'm downloading now is that you already championed that in previous lifetimes. And so I've drawn this in my Book of Shadows, and I've shared this in the premium tier in the vault, the adept tier of my newsletter. I share like screenshots and like scans from my Book of Shadows. But let me grab my iPad and I can actually show you guys. I also have showed this in my YouTube videos when I would go live on YouTube, but my intention is to post this to YouTube. So, Book of Shadows. Perhaps it's in the... Would it be in here? Well, I think it would be, but I don't think this is the one that I'm necessarily looking for. Yeah, no. And if you're interested in seeing the notes but aren't sure if you want to subscribe, there is a free 7-day trial that you can try out. If money is an issue, then you can contact me and let me know, and I can waive that fee for you. But essentially, if you think about it, energy travels in spirals. So I know the filter's kind of effing it up, but you see I drew a DNA helix here because the energy is traveling in a spiral. Oh dear, what's happened? What is this? What's happened here? And also, I need this to show up in dark. I don't want to see it like this. Okay, so you see that this is a DNA helix, but like these are circles because when we're in the 3D, we see it as this. But when we step out of the 3D into 4D consciousness, from the top, it's like a ring. We keep going around this karmic ring. But actually, when we step into the 4D, it is spiraling up and spiraling down. So if we stay in the 3D, in the karmic loop, we keep going around and around. But when we step into the 4D and we elevate our consciousness, we are able to spiral up to a new rung, and we're always spiraling up or spiraling down, right? And so when we get to our pillar of light, essentially, these are all pillars of light. And let's say we start here at this is our starting point. This is the South Node, this is the North Node. Or you could even say that that's the North Node. But I'm doing it red to green because Scorpio to Taurus. So this is the South Node, this is the North Node. This is my starting pillar of light, and I need to line these up. These are the lessons that I need to learn and integrate in this lifetime. And I need to line them up so I will be in my integrity when I am living in all of those lessons. And I operate from that in my life. That's when I'm living in unconditional truth and also unconditional love, because I've forgiven myself for whatever, not knowing. I've forgiven myself for the ignorance that I have had to, and we're going to come back to that because I was talking about the Persephonic journey through life that some of us are on if you identify as a divine feminine Christ, which can be in any body can be divine feminine Christ, and anybody can be divine masculine Christ. Anyway, so we start off here in the South Node. We already championed this in our last lifetime. So for me, it's Scorpio. I already know how to accumulate wealth. I know how to protect my wealth. I know how to save. And I also know how to live in scarcity. But when I come into this realm, there's a distortion that happened. I don't know if that is how it always happens. Perhaps when you incarnate, it always happens, but I'm unclear as yet. But either way, like, so I reached the top. If there were a circle down here, I reached the top, and then I incarnated here. But now this is the bottom. So I'm going to learn about the shadow aspects of Scorpio, or my South Node, in this lifetime. And it's my job to transmute those and evolve higher until I get to my North Node, which for me is Taurus. And I'm perfecting this balance between these two, because it is always about achieving balance. That's what integration, divine integration is achieving balance. So I go through this, I go through that, and remember, these are the colors because this is the electromagnetic light spectrum. I'm concentrating in this point of consciousness, in that tiny, tiny sliver, which I'm going to show y'all my favorite image. Is it on here, actually? No, I don't think so. That's a different favorite image of mine. But I do need to show this. Hunter. Was it spring? Yes. Or was it? No, it may have been. Blast. Oh, I think it's here. Okay, yes it is. That's the electromagnetic light spectrum. That is tiny, but we exist all around here. And so we got to call on all these different parts of our consciousness to help us to integrate here the energies that need to be integrated, because that's what we agreed to in this lifetime. And so when we are jailbreaking our chart, in order to understand, that's the map of what energy we have to use in this lifetime. And let's go back to the Book of Shadows in here. So, we have to travel through these different levels. New level, new devil, I'm hearing, because this is a different part of the shadow that we have to that we need to integrate and alchemize. And then we'll know the not so great qualities, but we'll also know the great qualities, and just shake that trauma off. That is part of why it is a physical ritual that needs to be done. Creating a physical ritual. And this is something that, I know that tribes in South Africa had this practice, but animals do it. They shake the trauma out of themselves. So this is something that needs to physically be expelled. Plasma, right? That's what we were saying. And of course, yep, DNA, it all comes back. And so we get to the North Node, and there are lower vibrational, there's shadow in the North Node that I think we fear, because it is the polar opposite, is the other polarity of what we have already, what we have with our South Node. But we have to integrate it, and we have to learn to stop fearing ourselves. So for me, Scorpio South Node, I could be really like, yeah, I can do scarcity. Trust me, I don't need much. I can save, I can scrim, but I need to learn luxury. I need to learn to stop shortchanging myself. I need to unlearn scarcity mindset, because that is indoctrination. That is the abuse of the colonial matrix. I think it is an Annunaki colonial. Well, the vampiric matrix, I guess. We'll start calling it the vampiric matrix in the Aetherium here. But I also, it is my like academic theoretical framework, so I will continue referring to it in that space as the Euro-colonial matrix, but here as the vampiric matrix. And I've done a lot of work about vampires in my crystalline library Discord, which I don't ever link, but if people want it, they can just like comment and I can send the link. So yeah, I hope that explains North Node and South Node. Yes, great. And also I will hopefully be able to upload this video to YouTube. Contrast therapy. Memories can be stored in body. Yes. Okay. Oh wow, that makes so much sense. Contrast therapy is, okay, contrast therapy is when you go from extreme heat to extreme cold. And so for me, it's going in the sauna, and then I go in for a period of time, and then I go into the cold plunge, which is like cold water, for around 2 minutes. And there's science about this. I won't bore you with that, but if you look it up, like, it does biomolecularly change, it changes you on the cellular level, and releases that trauma. So that is also, if you were to ritualize that practice, I mean, I think that sweat lodges are also a way that this manifests itself. And okay. Light and color and frequency. Yes, thank you. Yes, you're welcome. Yes, Finland, Scandinavia, right? Yeah, that's what they were saying, is that like it's something that everybody does. And like on a weekly, like go many weeks. Actually, I got into sauna culture last year from doing readings at a sauna party that my friend did, and I really want to get more into this kind of spa culture. It's actually one of my dreams. But we know about all this like healing center stuff. But it's cool because I now work at a contrast therapy space, and like I said, it's been really doing a lot for me. So it's time to let go of these fears, because we're on the other side now. So the divine feminine Christ. So I said, like, dark star astrology's theory around Persephone is one that, and the dark triad and the discovery of Ceres, which is, yeah, the discovery of Ceres and Eris, dwarf planets, which is why Pluto got demoted to a dwarf planet. That I used her theory for a long time, but I think that actually, like, and this is something that a lot of divine feminine Christs will resonate with, because many of us took the Persephonic track in our incarnation on Earth. When we came from the higher realms and manifested on Earth and were taken, we were dragged to hell through the trauma of estual depravity. What am I? So, dark star astrology's theory is that Ceres, or Demeter, was such an overbearing, narcissistic, hovering mother in her shadow, I guess, that Persephone knew what would happen if she ate the pomegranate seeds, and she did it because she wanted to rule. She wanted her own piece of the pie. And I actually think that's why I started talking about the 𝗧𝗧 and what I downloaded about Kanye and other people who just are magnetized towards, like, because he said that the magazine, the, how will I describe this? I guess the 18+ magazine that he found, that started him down a road of trigger warning, interfamily sexual relations with his older cousin. He found that in his mom's closet. Well, what was he doing in his mom's closet? He was magnetized there. I believe that perhaps he was guided by the Jezebel spirit. Perhaps that's something that, like, you know, when we make this contract, it's like, okay, well, you know, that spirit will have access to you, or not even making a contract, but like by virtue of agreeing to come here, because I've said this before, whatever lineage you incarnate into, you take on the karma for your bloodline, for like the city that you live in, you take on that karma. Any group that you identify with, the planetary karma, you take that on. And we picked up the karma of Maldek when we were being Captain 𝗂𝗵𝗻𝗁 and letting just anybody come here to this planet. We took on their karma, and I do believe that that's part of why what happened with Atlantis happened, because that happened in Maldek before it happened here. And I do believe that it's because we took them on, and their consciousness and their karma had that impact on the planet. And so knowing that, I think that's probably why they decided to encroach upon this planet. So looping back to, yes, Persephone. I believe that, you know, this happened to her where she intuitively, she knew that maybe she shouldn't eat the seeds. But she did it anyway because she had an itch to scratch. Curiosity killed the cat. Maybe it was just mere curiosity and she decided to defy her intuition. I know that that is a huge, huge issue for a lot of us in that collective, is denying our intuition. And we say it's because of the witch wound. We say it's because of indoctrination. Well, maybe it's because of that. And if you think about it this way, these are planetary, like, these are planetary consciousness. I don't know how this, yeah. So now we're going to look at another one of my favorite images. I just love space. So that is more, this, all of this is in the vault for the mysteries. So like I said, if you want to, there's a free 7-day trial, and also if money is an issue, you can reach out to me and I can give you access. And there's, I've written everything down, whatever I was downloading. These are from when I was in London, so I do feel like these are particularly special because obviously I was working with those codes of the elements there. Okay, so this might be a little bit harder to see, but you see that we are on Earth. We have human consciousness. Yes, that much is true. But that is an embodiment of Earth consciousness, which we share with all Earthlings. Then Earth is an embodiment of the solar system's consciousness. The solar system's consciousness all revolves around the sun. Okay, I guess it's a network of suns, of stars, really, that make up the, because, yeah, they all gravitate. Oh my God, that is why I had, this woman was in my life. She wasn't my real aunt, but I'm African, so you already know what I mean when I say that. We called her 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪. She lived with my mom when I was in university. So I think I only like maybe also when I was in high school, but definitely when I was in uni. So sometimes when I would go back, she would be there. Unfortunately, she passed away. May she rest in peace. But she told me that God didn't create the angels. God sang out and the angels responded. I understood this as frequency, and my conception of God has changed so much as I've continued my awakening and my initiations and everything. But if everything is vibrational and everything is frequency, like the sun did not create the planets. The planets magnetized towards the sun, and they were created. I mean, like, they weren't even they weren't even spherical at one point. They coalesced into this form, and from their spinning, like, you'll see this, I mean, we see this happen in like nebulae, which are the cosmic nurseries. We see this happen. Like, as they spin, they go from being like oblong and like shaped in odd ways to becoming spherical, which is potentially part of why some people think that like the planet is one way and other people think that it's another way. I have been playing with this idea that like we're just overlapping from different universes, and something that's true in a multiverse, we are overlapping here, and something that's true in their world is not true in our world, or, you know, whatever. They're in a parallel universe, but we are interacting somehow. Especially if you only know someone online. I do think that that can be the case. Those multiple things can be true at once. Who am I to say? You know? It may not be true for me, but it could be true for someone else. All the same, the planets, the sun didn't create the planets. The universe, the cosmos created the planets, but they gravitated, they magnetized towards the sun. That's the solar system. And they're in its orbit. Then we have the interstellar galactic neighborhood. I wonder if I can make this bigger. Nope. Well, if I save this image, view as large, it's already large. Save image. I think I can zoom in even more. Is my microphone still on? Yes. Bella. So this is the interstellar neighborhood. We live here in this neighborhood, in the Milky Way galaxy. This isn't even the Milky Way galaxy yet. These are just the interstellar neighborhoods. Those stars, they're their own consciousness. The sun is its own consciousness, which is ranked above planetary consciousness. The planets are ranked under the sun. This has to do also with the Big Bang, because certain matter was here since the beginning of time and materialization, and as it expanded outward, we know that the universe is expanding. As it expanded outward and over time, it deteriorated. And that is how the certain chemicals in the periodic table, certain gases and whatnot, that's how those were created, because they were deteriorations of the original periodic table of elements. I think that's what it's called. They were deteriorations of the original elements that were present at the Big Bang. Okay? So over time, if you are like super ancient, you may have been present at the Big Bang. And in fact, you could be from the other side of whatever was happening on the other side of the Big Bang. And then there's this like primordial sea, and all of this matter did whatever it did and became whatever it became, coalescing because of magnetism and electromagnetism, like moving around, creating things. And then we have planets, and the planets gravitate towards the sun. And then there are a bunch of suns in different, these are the interstellar neighborhoods, in different solar systems, in different sun systems. you know, they've got a different sun. That's what we talk about when we talk about star seeds. They're from a different star, a different sun. Now you imagine, look at this. This is the observable universe. It is literally improbable and illogical to believe that there is no other life. That is ridiculous. As a lover of science and as a logical autistic person, you have to be so narcissistic and literally, like, it's literally insane, the probability of there not being other life. But anyways, that's part of indoctrination. You can choose to believe whatever you want. This is our Milky Way galaxy. And all of this lives in here. We're over here somewhere. We're not even here. I think that's what they refer to as the Great Central Sun. I'm not so sure. But Sagittarius is aligned with the Great Central Sun. It's aligned with the center of the galaxy. So that's where we get the really high vibrational consciousness from and downloads from Sagittarius, because it is the gateway to that consciousness and that information. That's why Sagittarians are philosophers. Hey, me. That's why I was like reading 𝗪𝗪𝗪𝗪 just for fun and Candide just for fun as a 18-year-old. Milky Way galaxy. Well, guess what? Not only do we have our interstellar neighborhood, we have our local galactic group. That is its own consciousness. The entirety of the local galactic group is a higher ranking consciousness. I would say that I don't know for a fact, but because I'm just downloading this and transmitting it, but I would say that, you know, a comet has its own consciousness. You know what I mean? And I'm saying this about, like, when Pluto got demoted, Pluto is fallen. When Pluto got demoted to a dwarf planet, probably for what it did. It didn't used to do those things, allegedly, I guess. But this is, you know, we have to make these stories to understand. And it probably, if it happened in the cosmos, it has to happen on Earth. As above, so below. As within, this is within us. So without. It's whatever we're seeing here has already happened. There's stuff that's happening in the cosmos. We cannot see it. We can't see it because we don't have the technology, but we can feel it. We can interact with it. The fact that I'm touching back here, my basal ganglia, my reptilian brain, because the reptilian brain, the dragon, the cosmic waters, the primordial waters, Tiamat. Oh, we're really going in now. And this is our local galactic group. Those are all these different galaxies. We live here. Look at that. Wait, is it that? That's Andromeda? And we live here. We're not even in a particularly interesting part of the Milky Way. Our sun is not even a particularly interesting sun comparatively. This is the Virgo supercluster in which we live. And this is the local superclusters. That has its own consciousness. That's the observable universe. So when I'm like, I was an orb, I don't care to be like, why would I want to be 3D when I could be this? Being incarnate is painful. Why would I want to do it? So I didn't. You know what I mean? So if you are the oversoul of your group, it may mean that you came directly, if you're a sun, if you identify as having come through the sun, starseeds, I do believe, have to come through the sun in order to manifest on Earth from different planets. But if you are like from the sun, then you would be the Christ, the divine feminine Christ, divine masculine Christs are from the sun, and they are ranked higher than the planetary consciousness. So that is even beyond a star seed. Because a star seed could be from Venus, 𝗪𝗻𝗨𝗧. It could be from Uranus. Could be from anywhere. But Mars, Marduk, Maldek, I think about that. The planet that was exploded and it doesn't exist anymore. Could be that. Could be that. Could be part of what Marduk, aka Maldek, could have been the thing that struck Earth, which created the moon, which is our satellite. It created the moon. I mean, if you have a moon consciousness, even that's its own type of consciousness. And I do believe, okay, so that is the stuff that created the karma that we're experiencing right now. Pluto is there. Plutus is the sibling of Persephone, because it is the child of Demeter. And what I want people to understand is we can incarnate on planets as the planetary consciousness. So Earth's planetary consciousness can incarnate on Earth. Don't like doing it, but you know, whatever. The solar system itself has its own consciousness. It is ranked higher. And then all of these different suns in the interstellar neighborhood have their own consciousness, and they can interact with our sun. And we can do all of this through our basal ganglia. That is why they have to do sexual depravity. That is why they traumatize children, so that we can be so traumatized in the part of us that is hardwired to interact with our physical surroundings. We need that part of us in order to incarnate. That's why. Damn, I haven't done a channeling like this since I downloaded everything since eclipse season, so... Oh, wow, it's time to let go of the unnecessary densities of the trauma. The embodiment of the trauma, let it go. Yes, we know it, but we don't have to live it and enact it anymore. And enacting it doesn't mean that you are going and traumatizing others the same way you were traumatized, or that you're going and doing it over and over and over, the same scene all the time. It means that you are... It means that you are creating that scene over and over and over again, so that, and you are repeating that so that you can break that cycle. Maybe the same coping mechanisms you keep using, defense mechanisms, whatever, to keep creating these dynamics. The karmic contracts have been over, but that Persephonic, so divine feminine Christ, divine masculine Christ, that Persephonic contract where we were abducted and taken to hell. Oh my God. That shape-shifting entity that I have been battling with my whole life was Plutus, son of Pluto, Persephone's husband and son, on some weird, gross, like, inbreeding crap. Ugh. She was forced to do that, and that's part of what she took on in order to be queen of the underworld. Curiosity killed the cat. Oh my God. Oh my God. Plutus, Persephone, and she was betrothed to another divine feminine Christ, divine masculine Christ. The integration of polarities, was betrothed to another but was abducted. I'm still unsure why, because there are stories that Jupiter, Jove, Zeus made a contract with Pluto, a marriage contract with Pluto, to give her to him without Demeter's permission or Ceres' permission. And I can believe that, because that would be the divine masculine betrayal of the divine feminine, of not only the daughter but the mother. there would have to be some reason there's a corruption of Jupiter, but this is why ethereal beings, like why ethereal beings, cosmic beings, plasmoids, electromagnetic beings, and we just like to be in our own little fairy world, our own Phelan, but okay, Lemurian star seeds is what I'm hearing too. We also have the story that Venus was mad at Ceres because she did not want to worship her, or she thought that she was like not as beautiful or something like this, and she had her son Eros, Cupid, shoot Pluto with an arrow to make him fall in love with Persephone, or obsession really, and abduct her and are her. This is the history of this planet. This is the story of this planet that we're decoding. Oh my god, so nasty. Ugh. And this is the war that I've been fighting. And this entity that I like engaged with. But we're on the other side of it. That's why that happened. So fallen. So I think that like, and this has to do with the rings of Saturn, and I've talked about this before, Tiamat as the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachian Mountains are in the United States, they're in the Scottish Highlands, and they're in Africa. And I do believe, personally, I do believe that, I mean, that's why those lineages were targeted in the Lemurian 𝗂𝗃. I'm also thinking of the word hologram and holographic and 𝗂𝗃. Anyway, so those times are over though. We have vibrated so fast because we talked about vibrating and getting it out of our system, right? This is why it's important to go tanning, is what I'm hearing. Going tanning. I don't know why that's like tanning to do with like tanning for leather is coming up, but I'm talking about going into the sun and downloading the light codes, because on a biomolecular level, the light codes have been, during this active period of the sun, have been vibrating our plasmoids, our cells, so quickly that it's shaking all of this density out of us. I do want to point out that Pluto is related to wealth. Plutus is related to wealth. It's also related to the underworld, not just like the spiritual underworld, the subconscious, the shadow, but it's related to under the ground, in the earth. This is the 𝗕𝗲𝗪. It's not the sun. This is the 𝗕𝗲𝗪. It is misleading to paint it as, oh my god, this is so disgusting and horrifying. I'm like really like struggling right now. I call in my protectors across all of quantum space-time. So when they present the 𝗕𝗲𝗪 as if it's a serpent with a lion face, this is to depict the lineage of the reptilian, which isn't necessarily bad, merging with the lineage of the Lyran, which was a combination that they did in order to, for mutual benefit. It was to mutually benefit them against this encroaching universe. Okay, so I guess Jupiter was, in its shadow energy, maybe greedy. Well, there are spells that like put people into doing things that they would not have necessarily done otherwise. I don't know. That's going a little bit deeper than I can go right now. But greed. Greed comes from scarcity mindset. You're afraid that you're not going to get your needs met, so you have to hoard. That's why they show dragons as hoarders. And once again, this isn't the dragon's fault. This is being done to us. This is what I was talking about with marketing and dark psychology, when they like manipulate our basal ganglia to get us to buy more. You know what I mean? I mean, down to the lights in big box department stores. Down to how they would like blow out the smell of cookies to make people hungry at certain stores in certain places. I mean, it's just like putting MSG in food so that you'll become addicted to it. 10 of Cups, but we are coming back into union. We already had a union, a divine union counterpart, but we were taken from our divine union counterpart and forced to... I can't talk about this because it's so fucking nasty. They are aliens. I'm sorry for swearing, y'all, but like, Lord. And actually, I will say, because Ari knows, this is the thing. This is where that thing comes from in the lifetime, that like the karmic lifetime that people always tell me, oh, it's karma from a previous lifetime. This is the thing that I've like been dealing with. I guess that's why they used this thing to torture me, because that's this thing. Maybe it has to do with the 𝗪𝗄, but the 𝗪𝗄 is the fresh water. I don't know, and I don't want to know. But 10 of Cups is saying that like we are coming back into union with our true divine counterpart. Oh, I think my microphone stopped working, but y'all can still hear me, so I think it turned off. Okay, it's back on, but it'll probably turn off again. I'm gonna take a break in like 4 minutes to use the restroom, and then I'll be back. But so I will say this from my personal experience, because of the sexual abuse that I experienced as a child. Yeah, that's the Pluto and Plutus. Okay, that's what that is. I'm so disgusted. It reminds me of Galaxy Quest, because I hated that movie because of that. So I've carried so much shame, and like I projected onto other things because of the sexual depravity I've experienced that was in my body, and I've projected it onto other things. Well, actually, no, I grew up in a cult. So like, as I said, with an evangelical mother who's now a Mormon, even though she's a Black African. So the levels of sickness, but, and I also grew up like in this cult. It was very much obsessed with power, very much obsessed with wealth and money. One of my ancestors was the first millionaire in my country on my mom's side. That is my vampiric lineage, not the fallen angelic lineage, which is my father's side. And they got some Annunaki shit going on. So yeah, that is to say, and like nothing matters more, and also like restriction, patriarchy, just like, it's just fucked. So that is what that energy is. And people associate all of those bad things that they scapegoat onto Saturn, which is the loving mother. Those are all aspects of the sick shadow version of that which was made a dwarf planet. Scarcity, restriction, like, all of that stuff, like basically starving yourself, living, scrounging, all of that stuff. And there has to be some aspect of Jupiter being complicit, because Jupiter and Saturn are the social planets. They are the rulers together. They work together. Jupiter is masculine, Saturn as the feminine. And even painting Saturn as being masculine. Oh, it's daddy energy. It's the patriarch. It's not. It's power, which is why I associate it with auntie energy, because my aunts were powerful people. Especially my favorite aunt. And that she is from the side of my family that I especially don't like, but I love her down. Like, I love my auntie. I wanted to be just like her, because she was everything my mother wasn't. She was responsible. She was kind. She was honest. She had her faults. She had her shadow, but she was loving. She was so loving. But, my mom is different folks, different story, right? But the point is, that's why I associate that with auntie energy. It is about power, and it is about discipline. When you love your child, you discipline them so they don't become a lazy, spoiled fucking loser who can't fend for themselves, because you understand that one day you won't be there. So she didn't do everything perfect. She didn't. But you understand that. You raise your child up in the way that you want them to go, right? So you guide them. You are stewarding them, shepherding them. Shepherd. The sheep are the children, literally. Oh my God. And this is what that creator was talking about when she said it's a problem that Abel sacrificed his sheep when he was supposed to be a shepherd. I think I reposted that so y'all can like find that. But yeah, I'll try to remember to put this all in like, but I probably won't, if I'm being honest. I probably won't. So go through my reposts. But yeah, my microphone died again. I wonder if I have my other microphone. I'm gonna finish this statement and then I'm gonna go to the bathroom. For a second. So Jupiter, for whatever reason, I guess it's just, this is the thing that I said, you get that itch that you have to scratch. You just do. The universe wants to experience itself, so it just wants to know. Oh my God. I'm going to take a break and go to the bathroom really quickly. I will be back in a couple of minutes. 2:22 on the clock. Alright, I've returned. I'm going to charge my microphone. Right, this can fit. Yes? Okay, beautiful. Okay, we're back. I'm going to go record my reading of the day. I'll be back after. Sounds good. Thank you for being here. So, I channeled, and this is back to the original message. I was like, oh gosh, I have to hurry up because I have to go to work later and I have homework, and I wanted to like start painting my room because y'all know that like I peeled the blue paint off of the walls, which I really hated, and now I need to like repaint before I can start installing like space saving devices and like get this place organized and stuff like that, because the lack of organization is really triggering me. But yeah, so all that being said, when I was like, I really need to hurry up. And then I was like, no, I don't need to hurry up. I just had this conversation with myself. Like, I don't need to hurry up. Like, we are on quantum time now. Yes. Oh my God. Thank you. We are on quantum time now. And if you're like me, like I said earlier in the channeling, like the 5D, I was born in the 5D. Like, I had already experienced that. And my children will be born in 6D. Like, I was born in the 5D. And then I fell into 3D through things that happened to me. So, like, that is a part of why it feels so demoralizing. Like, I can tell you that the times we are living in right now are actually worse. It's not necessarily because of everything that's happening, because of the 𝗂𝗪. It's because we literally are, like, the energy is worse. It had not been fertile. But that's part of, you know, the philosopher Fukuyama, in terms of like the theoretical framework or methodology of hauntology, theorized that we were at the end of history. And I don't think that like, he could theorize that however he wants to put it into academic terms, but when you're an academic today, that is like what we would have called philosophers back in the day. So yeah, I go to university, but back in the day, I would have been like in a literal Socratic seminar with Socrates. I would have been at the Library of Alexandria. You know what I mean? So that's what that means. What he means by we're at the end of history is that we're at the end of we're in the 𝗂𝗪. And that's why there's so little creativity. That's why all of the music sounds the same, and it sounds vapid and empty and just like demonic, frankly, like, because it is empty, it has no life in it, and it is actually being used as a way to drain your life force, to drain your energy for those who need to siphon energy because they don't have any power of their own. So yeah, in terms of fashion, in terms of like art, there's very little creativity really happening in these industries. Remember, that's industry. It doesn't mean that it's not happening at all, but it's not being platformed, and that's part of why. We're being called to go into the world, is what I'm hearing. Yes, we need to like chosen ones, you need to promote your art. You need to promote your art. That's what I'm hearing. And I'm hearing this makes sense. Okay, so if you think about somebody like I did channel a download that Tiamat is, I know I'm kind of jumping around, but we're in quantum time now. If you're in the 5D, you're in quantum time now. You do not have to hurry. You do not have to rush anymore. You do not live by the 3D matrix anymore. I know that things may not have worked out the way that you wanted it to or thought that it should, and it might have seemed like, but A plus B should equal C. Why is it not working out? But, you know, like I said, like, I know that I'm supposed to be a performer and entertainer. I know that for me. And it's something that, like, I fought against on my own, then I did it, and then it didn't work in the way that I wanted to, and that was good because that kept me from a lot of evil things happening to me, although many evil things did happen. And then, like, I tried to be normal, and that was terrible because I was not supposed to be doing that. And, like, all this stuff, it's like, you know, I hear people being online like, you have to show up with consistency. And then I'm like, oh, I'm not showing up with consistency. And then I remember, no, actually I did show up with consistency. Like, I did do, like, all the things. And it didn't happen the way that I wanted it to. That is because of the contracts that I had. And this is why I've said over and over and over again, some of us chosen ones, those of us who are of the sun, the divine feminine, the divine Christ children, let's just say it that way, because the Christ, the crystalline, it's the sun and the earth married together. Okay, and the ethereals, those would be the Tiamat, the cosmos, and Venus together. Venus is also Christ energy. Venusian, the living waters, not Pluto, which is the dead waters, the underworld. The fallen spirits are down there. It's not a matter of like, oh, hell and Sheol or whatever. It's like the fallen spirits are down there. The other spirits that are just doing their own thing are like, yeah, I guess they might be in Sheol, but like if you're actually ascending, then you go into the living waters and you keep ascending. But a lot of people, they just keep going around and around and around. And I would feel that that's Sheol. And then there's the space of the fallen energies, and it is the waters. They really want me to share this bit, so I'll come back to the other thing that I was saying. Energy travels in spirals. That's why I'm like going all over. But Tiamat, I made a video that said Tiamat is Sophia. That is true, because Tiamat is 𝗵𝗱𝗀. The cosmos, like I said, the Big Bang. Everything happened at that Big Bang. It contained everything. You contain everything. It contained everything necessary to create the universe in which we live. Tiamat is the universe. The cosmos isn't like, oh, the ether and the stars and the planet. No, the cosmos is all of it. And she is the cosmic sea. And then her consort was 𝗪𝗄, the fresh waters. And he was actually ranked lower than her. The fresh waters, 𝗪𝗻𝗻𝗁, that relates to Venus. The Mintakan star seeds, the mermaids, that's that. Okay, and they're not physical mermaids that like live in the physical plane. They are shapeshifters that can travel through the ethers, through the realms. So Tiamat and 𝗪𝗄 are together. And 𝗪𝗚 is the luminary in which Sophia lives. Sophia is the daughter of 𝗵𝗱𝗀 and what we call God. And this is all about rank. It all goes down. I think I have this I probably have it in that Book of Shadows, but I remember the day that I was writing this down and drawing it, so I know that it's in one of my physical books. This is why I encourage everyone to keep a Book of Shadows. I always want to do a workshop on creating Book of Shadows, but I haven't done one yet. But I really want to do that. So this is what it looks like, right? they were as one. And then there was the Big Bang, which I guess is that line there. And then they were as more than one. They were as two. Duality. This is why when people talk about the Hermetic principles and they say the all is mind, like everything's binary. No, it's not true, actually. That's only in the physical world. In the 3D, that's true. That's not true in the 4D. That's not true in the 5D. So if you hear somebody telling you all is mind, that's if you can't actually decode the Hermetic, like the emerald tablets, because it's encoded and you haven't actually opened your mind, your third eye, to be able to decode it properly, yes, you will use it to cause harm. That's the inverted Thothean context, the inverted Luciferian context. But not everybody who comes from those collectives or lineages is evil or bad. The ones who use sacred knowledge to enslave others, to entrap and exploit others, they are evil and bad. But not all of them. Not everyone of a fallen lineage is evil and bad. I have to say that, because those of us who Yahweh, aka Yahweh, that's one of my family gods, which is confirmed by the shrine priests in Ghana. All right, so it makes sense that my family, like my dad's family particularly, because I did that work for my dad's family, identifies as being of the Abrahamic religions. And this also corroborated what I said about being descended from Enoch, which is something I had channeled and told him a long time ago. All the same, and I'm picking up something about Queen of Sheba, but we're not gonna go down that road just yet. And I thought to myself, well, if this consciousness is bad, or this consciousness is evil, then I'm evil. No, you're only evil if you're evil. Your character is the content of your character is your actions, right? So if you choose to be overwhelmingly doing bad things and harming others, then yeah, you are evil. But you can choose to stop doing that at any point. And you can choose to rectify the karma that you see Yom Kippur is on its way. Atonement. You can choose to stop. And this is what I'm picking up for this card. Stop hurting yourself. Stop forcing yourself to live in that old reality, because that has fallen away. I have channelings about this in the Vault on my Substack. Do you not see it? I gotta read the verse. Behold, I am, oh no. I need to read it from the King James Version. Isaiah 43:19. And it's come up a lot, y'all. It's come up a lot. In the past, since 2020, it's come up a lot. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. The desert used to be a fertile place. And then it became the desert, which in its own way is miraculous. A new ocean is being formed in Africa as we speak. Behold, I will do a new thing. Now it shall spring forth. Shall you not know it? I will even make a way in the wilderness and rivers in the desert. Miracles are possible. Let me tell you how miracles are possible. I could not imagine a day when I would not have to use substances because I wanted nothing more. I could not stand to be in my body because it was infested with trauma that I inherited in my lineage and horrible things that happened to me. I didn't want to remember these things. So I had to party. And just like the song said, I had to stay high. I could make it work all day long, but when I got home, I'm smoking me a spliff. I'm going to sleep at 11 by 11 p.m. And then I'm going to go into my matrix life, go to school, go to work, come home, do it all over again. That is the only way that I was able to live in the matrix, mind you. And then separately and or together, go out and get shit-faced wasted with my friends as a club kid, 3 to 4 nights out of the week, because I didn't drink every day. Doesn't mean that I'm not an alcoholic or addict. That does not mean that, right? I could not imagine being sober, nor could I imagine wanting to be. I wanted to stop drinking. I wanted and chose to stop doing party drugs. When I got sober, I did not want to stop smoking weed. In fact, I was making and selling edibles. I wanted to move to California and administer sacred medicine, plant medicine. That's what I wanted to do when I got sober. But I said, you know what, I'm going to try it because I knew that my ancestors and higher self had guided me that way. I liked the things that I was hearing in the community that I was entering into, and I was like, okay, I'll try it for a while and we'll see. I'm over 5 years sober, almost 5.5. I haven't had a drink in 6.5 years. On January 28th, it will be 7 years since my last drink. I don't want to pick up ever again. That is a miracle. That is a miracle. And every day that I stay sober, I know that I am living a miracle. And that is how I know that miracles are possible. You got to figure out what it is for you. I literally would cry thinking about how I had to spend the rest of my life with my family. I would break down in tears thinking I will never get away from these people. And now I don't interact with them. My life is so much better. That is a miracle. You got to figure out whatever it is for you. A lot of us, especially if you're an ethereal being, it probably is addiction to substances. That is one of the traps that they have here set out for us. Don't want to stop drinking because we don't like being incarnate. We want to be in other states of consciousness. I loved doing acid. Are you kidding me? I loved smoking weed. I loved psychedelics. Of course I did. But I had to give that stuff up. And by doing so, I have more power than I ever imagined possible. So when I say that it's time to let go of the past, truly it's time to let go of the past, my friends. Truly. Because it's over. A new thing is happening. An ocean is forming in the middle of the African continent. Do you hear me? Nothing stays the same, okay? So, coming back to what I was talking about, the polarities. So, okay, this is the singularity, and we don't know what's over here. This is the singularity. Divine feminine Christ, divine masculine Christ. Do not think about this in matrix terms or vampire colonialist terms. It's just electric, magnetic. And then it splits into 2 along each. And you see these markings? Because this is plus and this is minus. This is plus plus. This is plus minus. This is plus plus plus. This is plus plus minus. Plus minus plus. Plus minus minus. That's literally matrices that you learn in math and science in middle school. Literally matrices. Matrix. So this, we'll see on this side, right? Because 𝗵𝗱𝗀. This is 𝗵𝗱𝗀. Looking at one's reflection, this is 𝗵𝗱𝗀. And, well, I guess maybe this might be 𝗵𝗱𝗀. But anyway, as we go down and we are, I don't want to say deteriorating, but expanding further from our point of concentration, we have the 4 luminaries. Inside one of the luminaries, 𝗪𝗨𝗪. The universe we live inside of, Sophia, is inside of 𝗪𝗨𝗪, which is inside of 𝗵𝗱𝗀. Barbie. 𝗪𝗨𝗪 is Lilith, is 𝗵𝗱𝗀, aka Tiamat. Sophia is Lilith. Sophia is divine feminine Christ. And actually, under Sophia is Zoe. Zoe is Sophia, is 𝗪𝗨𝗪, is 𝗵𝗱𝗀. I hope that is clear. And so because of what happened, this Persephonic track, the divine feminine Christ on earth. And so Tiamat was with 𝗪𝗄. 𝗪𝗄 was the fresh waters. Because of Marduk's assault on Tiamat. So Marduk is it's not even a planet. It is, well, it could be the usurper, because it is their children. So it was the Titans and then the Olympians, right? Their children. It was the Olympians that, down here, that slew Tiamat and used her body. Her body is the cosmos. Used her body. That includes us. This is what I was talking about when I was talking about the 𝗧𝗧 and started talking about the mind control. Literally, marketing is mind control. That is not hyperbolic. That is literally what it is. Like, that's literally what it is. The mind control. The spectacle, the use of spectacle, sleight of hand. This is in the book, The Unaliving of Reality, which costs hundreds of dollars if you buy it online. But guess what? Vie Darling has a free PDF. So if you want one, DM me, or I don't actually check my messages on here, but reach out to me and I can send you the PDF, because it is very informative, especially if you come from a fallen lineage. So, yeah, somebody from these lower ranks, let's say that these are the Titans, these are the Olympians, and these are the humans. One Marduk, who is an Olympian, Zeus, Jupiter, whatever consciousness embodiment of him, decided to work against the cosmos to disconnect those of a lower rank. They were all power hungry. That was the issue. And that's why they hated and wanted to control and imprison Saturn. Because it's like, no, I'm not going to let you do that, 𝗂𝗵𝗄𝗃. I'm not going to let you do that. I can't let you. That's against my nature. And so they scapegoated her. They made us hate ourselves and love they wealth. That's why Shawty's holler where the ball is at. Drug dealer by Jordan's crack, head by a crack. And the white man get paid off for all of that. But I ain't even gonna act holier than thou. Cause fuck it. I went to Jacob with 25,000 before I had a house, and I'll do it again. Cause I wanna be on 106 and Park pushing the Benz. I wanna act all ballerific like it's all terrific. I got a couple past due bills. I won't get specific. I got a problem with spending before I get it. We all subconscious. I'm just the first to admit it. That is the mind control. That's what it is. I want to act ballerific like it's all terrific. That's what it is. This is what creates the scarcity. This scapegoating of the feminine, this rejection of the divine feminine, which is the counterpart. This happened down here, though. And up here, they're still fighting against it. Nothing actually happened to Barbello. It is a lens of distortion. So they keep Saturn out. That's why the rings of Saturn, we've talked about this before. The rings of Saturn, which are dissolving, by the way. They keep Saturn separate. They demonize and scapegoat Saturn. Mind you, it's Saturday. Because Saturn does not allow that fuck shit. Excuse my language. Because the other Olympians agreed to let Marduk be in charge. All this shit is a distortion. And so for their collective underneath them, that's why they do what they do to them. And because the universe is out of whack, that's why I said it's not even a particularly spectacular solar system, but it is in that, like, this is what's happening here. And it's throwing everything out of whack. And I think that, I mean, it has to also be happening in the Virgo supercluster to some extent. Or, you know, these higher realms are trying to stop it because they don't, that's why the 3D is put under lock and key. Because they don't want that to affect the rest of the universe. And they have to fix whatever the fuck is happening here. And that's why we've been coming from across the universe to come fix what's been happening here. Think about it this way as well. This inversion. Up until wasps were created, luxury meant opulence, dripping in finery. Even the Annunaki, if you will, even the Babylonians were dripping in finery. Eating, like, you know, eating rich foods, what have you. But now, it is like scarcity is associated with wealth and status and power. If you're skinny, that's because you are, that is seen as good. And if you, like, or I was thinking about orthorexia when I was in the bathroom, because I was thinking about being obsessed with food. And how many millennials are orthorexic, trigger warning. Sorry if that's triggering for anybody. That's what I was thinking about. And how, like, exercise is something that is seen as a luxury. So it's seen as something that is, like, working class people don't have time to exercise. And they don't have energy to exercise. So to have exercise be a separate aspect of your day that you do is associated with the bourgeoisie, because white collar workers are sitting down. They have to go and have a special time in their day. And they have the time to separate it because they're bourgeoisie, they're white collar workers. Then even more so, like the like wasp culture, right? They don't eat a lot of food. They're very skinny. They mainly just drink all day. Dour, taciturn. In what way is that associated with wealth? Like abundance, prosperity, being juicy, being like fertile. That's not. And also, I mean, they had a lot of issues with reproduction anyway. It's because it's a distortion. Literally, I'm not going to get into it too much because I don't want to like be triggering, but like this Ozempic crisis and being Y2K skinny. Yo, I remember Y2K. I was just watching a show that reminded me of what the media was propagating at the time when I was a kid. And I was in middle school and wanted plastic surgery. That's how messed up I was. All right, I'm going to wrap this up because I have to go get ready for work soon. I've been on here basically since I woke up. But that's what, you see this? This is the lens of distortion. It is an illusion. I want y'all to really remember that they don't have power. They don't have magic. Because if you invert life, what the fuck are you creating? A vacuum? That's some dumb shit. And these ones who went along with it, these other planetary consciousness who went along with it, they're some fucking dummies too. But what I'm picking up is it was all a plot to keep Saturn from doing Saturn's job as the divine feminine, the divine mother. It was all a plot and that is how they imprisoned Tiamat and bound the queen in her bones, which is something that I mention all the time. I have for years and years. If you go back into my YouTube archive and it's in, but I would encourage you, use that 7-day free trial to read the vault of the Substacks throughout this summer. Use that 7-day free trial because I channeled about that recently. Welcome back. And I channeled about all of this stuff is coming to a close, and these are things that I've been like, I need to know the answers for so long. We channeled that all without actually even getting into the chart off these two cards. Divine union is happening. I know it has felt like forever, and it has felt like we've been being told that it's happening, but last night, if what happened in the ethers last night is any indication, like, it's over. And we're free. They had to let us free. That contract that we had with them, we're on the other side. We're on the tipping point. It was a marriage contract that we did not agree to. This is what it is. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. I got it. Marduk. If Marduk is Jupiter, Mars is not the divine masculine. It is a divine masculine, but honestly, the divine masculine would more so be, I guess it depends on like what collective you're a part of. But I mean, there is an ultimate divine masculine because we are in this solar system. It goes back to Earth. It goes back to the sun, as I said before. Anyway, my point being, Persephone is the daughter of, she's not a demigod, she's the daughter of Jupiter. She's not a demigod, and she's not a human. So I don't really know what you might call her. Maybe an Olympian, I don't know. But she is, because as by virtue of it being her daughter, his daughter, and Ceres' daughter, Earth's daughter. She is higher ranking than a human, obviously, but lower ranking than Jupiter and Ceres. So, I mean, yeah, maybe she manifested. What I perceive this as is like so they say Demeter came down to Earth with her to do some stuff, and she was picking flowers, and that's when she was abducted to the underworld. It could have been that the planetary consciousness of Demeter, who is an earth deity, the planetary consciousness of Gaia, of this planet, incarnated to do something on Earth for some reason, and brought her daughter Persephone. Could have created. No, I'm hearing that that's what happened. And so Persephone also incarnated on Earth. They were already the shining ones. They were already the bright ones. You can see an aura around them. They burn brighter than others. And that's why we're so much more sensitive, because we burn brighter. And that is when the trauma happened. Perhaps, yes, that's when the trauma happened. And I do believe the divine feminine aspect of Venus in her shadow element, because she's very jealous and vain, this is, maybe it's one time, maybe these are different timelines. Actually, maybe the different stories are different timelines, because there's the story that Venus corrupted using magic. She corrupted Pluto. And then there's the timeline where Jupiter, Marduk, sold her in a secret marriage. In this contract, if that's the case, she wouldn't have had to eat the pomegranate seeds. But I don't know. I have to keep channeling about that. But either way, because she of her own will ate the pomegranate seeds, she had to stay in the underworld. And she could go to the underworld and come back to the land of the living. Go to the underworld and come back to the land of the living. Eris. E-R-E-S. Who do we not name? She is now free from that karmic contract. Now she gets to come into union. And so do all of us. So do we. This happened at obviously a higher level than humans, because as above, so below, as within, so without. So it's time for us to stop choosing the old contract, because it's over. Just like, they have the Old Testament and then they have the New Testament. Though that covenant was over. Now it's a new covenant. All right. And we are in union. Okay? So that's all I've got. I think, obviously, like I said, I don't need to actually look at the chart. I don't need, because you tap into the cosmos. You are the cosmos. You're made of cosmic energy. There's nothing else. 3 of Wands in reverse. The magic that has been done against you, the curse work, that shit's over. We tipped into the tipping point. We're home. Wheel of Fortune It's all turning in our favor. And guess who's getting the last laugh? We're gonna be here, in the Lotus, they're gonna get their head bitten off by the dragon. So if you see people who are suffering, it's because they're probably part of the collective that did this subterfuge and sabotage. And you just let them get their just desserts. Because you also don't have to suffer the burdens of the collective that you were born into if you choose to no longer be a part of that anymore. But you can opt into that suffering when people are like, when they choose to become a certain religion, they choose to become a citizen of a place, or to expatriate or repatriate. That's why astrocartography is important. Anything else that we need to know? I want to just touch on what we can expect for the rest of the month, for the rest of the transits. Hello. On the 29th, yesterday the moon entered Sag. Okay, we're not going to honor that because we use true sidereal. Anything else happening this month? No, there's really nothing else happening in terms of like planetary alignments and aspects in September. I guess the next time I go live, I'll do October, but Mercury entering Scorpio in terms of tropical astrology is not super relevant. We do have the full moon on the 7th. That's when I have my emo karaoke. If you live in New York, at Mood Ring, October 7th. Anything else we need to know? Mercury square Jupiter is coming up. Mercury opposing Chiron. And Mercury square Pluto. And also, yeah, 9 of Swords comes out. Rest is going to be very important because we are integrating seriously important information. We're integrating timelines. And we are the meeting point for all of this stuff. We are the threshold. We are the filter through which the ethers meets the physical reality. We are the Big Bang. And ever since we were conceived. So we're integrating these timelines in our bodies. Be sure to treat your body kindly and gently. We're getting a lot of messages. I think it's interesting that these are like, I was reading them as crows, but they're ravens. There's messages coming from the darkness, which isn't necessarily bad, but there might be some frightful stuff surfacing. But it is all for your benefit. It's happening in the ethers. It's happening in your dream state. Meditation is going to be very helpful. Judgment in reverse. 6 of Swords, 10 of Pentacles. Knight of Swords in reverse at the bottom of the deck. You've been judged worthy. You've been judged worthy. So stop judging yourself. Stop punishing yourself. So you can allow yourself to receive your inheritance. The karma that you took on wasn't even your own, and yet you fucking transmuted that shit. You didn't have to. You agreed to come here and suffer. The things that they do, because they know who we are. They know how to find us when we're born and to set all these things into work. Because when I think about it, a lot of the people that I know who had to be really, really controlled, if their parents didn't work for the government, they were able to control you and put you into different places by orchestrating circumstances to happen in your life. in controlling where you live, where you go to school, this, that, and the third, to have control over you. For some reason, some people they wanted to keep in the dark about it. For other people, they didn't. They were allowed to know and remember what happened to them. But justice is being served. You have to allow it. Cut off all those karmic people. It's over. It's over. Nothing that resonates with those old timelines. Leave that shit behind. We are in the new earth now. Okay? Venus opposing the North Node. If you, like, yeah, I've been so demoralized, just like, what the fuck? like, what the fuck? You know what I mean? And it's just like, it's so Mercury, like I said, Mercury is the divine masculine, actually, here. Divine masculine Christ. Mercury squaring Jupiter, opposing Chiron. So it's going to be a lot of stuff going on in your head space. That's why meditation, especially grounding meditation, breath work is going to be helpful. Like I said, it's going to be in the body. Seven of Swords in reverse. The way that they manipulated our minds. Don't even argue with people who are trying to start some bullshit with you. They're trying to get into those ghetto little games that people like to get into, like petty little arguments and shit, trying to do mind games. Girl, bye. Get the fuck out of here. That's why your life is the way that it is, because you have way too much time to be fooling around. That's time that you could be spending on your legacy, and then you wouldn't be so insecure. You know what I mean? People who are jealous of other people. You have way too much time to sit around thinking of nonsense. But you're jealous of people who have more success than you, but you're not even doing the thing to make yourself successful. Stop being foolish. Go and make a plan and follow it. That's that auntie energy coming out. That Capricorn energy. Go make a plan and follow it. I was never allowed to idle around as a child. I was never allowed to idle around. And my parents were not allowed to idle around. You're sitting down, you're done with your chores, go read a book. Go play outside. Stop, get off your phone and go do something with yourself. You feel demoralized because you don't do anything. You're settling for less than anything would be fulfilling. I'm going to go to work. I'm going to go to school. It's just like I said about like smoking weed all day. Or not all day. I really rarely did that. But like what I had to do to live a matrix life and not even be fulfilled. That's why you're not fulfilled. Go do something with yourself. Stop being a basic bitch. Like, level up. You want to do something, go do it. Oh, I'm going to fail. Stop worrying about being embarrassed. I can't dance at the party because people are going to take a video of me. And yeah, fuck them. They're an asshole. So you're going to let your life suck because you're afraid that some dickhead is going to take a photo of you? I've had people take photos of me and post them online talking trash about me. And what? I'm still a bad bitch. All that did was affirm to me that I did not belong in Maryland and that I needed to stay in New York. Where people see my fits and be like, yeah, that's a bad bitch right there. I was never meant to be in Maryland. Maybe the things that you're afraid of are a message to you from your innermost self that you need to get away from those people. It is these karmic times. But you are the arbiter of justice. You are the arbiter of the spiritual realm. Spirit can't do anything without an incarnate being making it happen. So make it happen. Oh, but I can't because this happened in the past. I'm telling you, it's over. It's over. It's over. I know. I'm crazy too. You know what I mean? So like, I'm going to have to psych myself up. But I'm going to do it because the pain of not doing it is so unbearable, and I will not go back to being active in substance abuse. I will not. Fuck the devil. You know that TikTok sound where they're like,
I got kicked out of church because I said, fuck the devil. What? I thought we hated that guy. Fuck the devil. Fuck the 𝗬𝗂𝗧. Fuck the shaitan. I don't give a fuck. Just because it upsets you, I'm gonna go do what the fuck I want to do. Just because it makes a colonizing ass bitch mad, I'm gonna go do what I'm gonna go be gay, get tattoos, pierce up my body, dye my hair, dance like there's no fucking tomorrow, love someone, be nice to someone, share a meal with my loved ones, because fuck you, you're not gonna take my life from me. They already took our lives, our childhoods from us. They tortured us. Fuck them. And if you need the permission to say fuck you, here it is. I don't have a president. Nobody presides over me. I'm Vie Darling. I'm the sovereign. You're not gonna hem me up. Take your sovereignty back. Go be a bad bitch. Do what the fuck you want to do. You want to make art? Make art. You want to lay in the grass? Lay in the grass. You want to go swing on a swing at a park? Maybe do it in a not inappropriate time, not when there are kids waiting online, but go do it. My middle school best friend and I would always go to this huge park in the neighborhood I grew up in called Adventure Park. And they had these giant swings that could fit multiple people. Into high school, we would still go there. This is so like emo, fucking suburban, millennial coded shit. But like into high school, we would go and swing because we felt like flying. And we would talk about all the things that normal teenagers talk about. And we would just swing and swing and swing. And we were seen as bad because we did not give a fuck about the things that other people gave a fuck about. People would feel like we were bad because we didn't like the things that they liked. Who the fuck cares if I like what you like? You like it. So why the fuck does it matter if I like it? Go like what you like. I am obsessed with Sailor Moon. I have multiple Sailor Moon tattoos. If someone doesn't like Sailor Moon, do you think I'm gonna go get my fucking tattoos removed? No. I'm gonna go watch more Sailor Moon. Sucks that they don't know what they're missing, but by God, I know what I'm getting. Live your life. I'm happy for you that you like that. I hate Digimon. I liked Pokemon. But do you think that I'm gonna go and be mean to people who don't like Digimon? No, because what kind of fucking loser would I be to waste my time that I'm never gonna get back, giving a fuck what you got going on? Don't be a fucking loser today. Be a winner. Do your shit. Be who you want to be. Because that is what is going to bring down this matrix. That and nothing else. As much as I love the idea of the French Revolution, that is not going to bring down the matrix because it is a mental matrix. Racism is not real. It's not real. Cis heteropatriarchy is not real. So if we stop enacting it, it will not be realized. It is an ideological construct. And we know that men are not better than women or that males are better than females. We know that's not true. We know that white domination is not, or rather supremacy, is not true. So why would we live it if it's not true? That doesn't make sense. Bring down the matrix in your life. In your community, through joy and love and having fun and fulfilling yourself, eating. I don't know why, but like eating is coming up. And I have to say this because it is in the realm of the mind. All of this is happening in the realm of the mind. All right. Venus opposing the North Node, Venus sextile Lilith. Exactly. That's that punk shit. That is what is opening us up to stepping into divine union. Okay, and that's pretty much what we've got for this week. We do have Pluto retrograde ending on the 14th of October. Yay! So what we're experiencing right now is a purging of all of that shadow energy, which sucks. You're such an emo woman. Yes. Be gay, do crime. Thank you. Yeah, King of Cups energy. So this is that inverted satanic energy that I was talking about. Oftentimes when it comes up in this deck, that's how I perceive it. I'm going to put it on its face because I don't like that. But look, Three of Swords in the reverse. You don't have to be friends with people who don't like you. You don't have to date someone who doesn't like you. You do not have to be in a familial contract with people who do not like you. You don't. Take your power back. Five of Swords, betrayal. It will feel, you know, the realizations that are coming up at this time, it's going to feel like heartbreak all over again. That's what that grief is. Remind yourself of who you are by doing what you love. I know it sucks because it's just like, I just want to be back, and I didn't appreciate being in middle school and high school as much as I feel I could have, in part because I was being abused. So that's a big part of why. But I think if I had known that, like, if I had known what it would be like being an adult in 2020s, I would have fucking savored that shit. I would have savored it. Not having to worry about rent. Well, anyway, yeah, I would have savored it. So give your inner teenager and your inner children the life that you didn't get to have. Yeah, exactly. Thank you so much. We were being controlled. And yeah, we did do our best. I say that for all of us. I'm so proud of every single person who gravitates toward this video, because that means that you are aligned with this energy and you fucking survived. Hell. Like, Ace of Cups. Oh my god! Yo, tropical Libra season is about to be crazy. I can't even see it. I feel it. It's like I said, some of us, our prosperity, our promise is in the 6D. So we gotta let go of that 3D life. But I will tell you all, before I log off, I will tell you where the cosmos are in true sidereal. Pluto is in Aquarius, retrograde. The North Node and Saturn are in Pisces. Neptune has only broken by 2 degrees the conjunction that it was in with Saturn. This is what I've just channeled is the byproduct of Neptune and Saturn. The distortions, the layers of the spell work, the veils have been dissolved through that what is this called? Conjunction. And now Neptune is at 0 degrees of Aries. We have the sickle. What is that? No, that's Jupiter. Oh, and you don't have to tell me what it is. No, go back. Oh, I think that's Ceres. And Chiron is in Aries as well. So this is about our actions, our karma. This is about healing our relationship to it. Shame around our choices. I think that Chiron
people should talk more about how Chiron relates to shame. Not just like, oh, the wounded healer. It's shame. Shame about our actions and our choices. And I mean, that's why I brought up like the contracts, right? This is Uranus in Gemini. So yes, you can go your own way. My throat is really dry. But Go Your Own Way by Fleetwood Mac. You can call it another day. Oh my god, actually, Rumors as an album. I'm like, and there's the song The Chain. If you don't love me now, you will never love me again. I can still hear you saying you will never break the chain. That song is about the chain of karma. I'm going to listen to that album and decode that because obviously they were witches. Midheaven, that changes every day, but Jupiter is in Pisces. I will marinate on that, but Venus is in Virgo. That's why we're healing the divine feminine. South Node is in Virgo. We're also healing the divine feminine with that. We're healing our past. We're reorganizing our lives to create a lifestyle that is beneficial to us. For me, that is like why I've been so obsessed with my diet and exercise lately, because my diet has been ruining my life, my entire life, and I only recently, well, I knew that, but I didn't know what to do about it, and now I know more of what to do. The Sun and, what is this, Libra. The Sun is in Libra and true sidereal. Mercury is in Libra. And then we have Mars in Scorpio. Is this true sidereal? Really? Okay. This is not true sidereal. Settings. Why would you even show me this? The fuck? Yes. Apply. Oh, I have to pay for this. Well, I'm gonna go back to the website. That's very annoying. I feel misled. September 2025, 7 a.m. 𝗂𝗪 Point. Okay, so the Sun and Mercury and Mars are in Virgo. The Moon is in Scorpio, but that's going to change within a few hours even. Pluto retrograde in Capricorn. North Node in Aquarius. Saturn and Neptune in Pisces, as well as Chiron. Uranus in Taurus. Jupiter in Gemini. Venus in Leo. Love that. Venus in the South Node in Leo. So yeah, do with that information what you will. I used Mastering the Zodiac to pull the true sidereal chart with the 13 signs and 12 houses. I'm saving that for today. Angel, I'm gonna just put that there. And yeah, I love you all truly and deeply. I'm so grateful for everybody who tuned in. My phone is on 11%. Thank you for the follow, Victoria. And yeah, I'm gonna do my best to get this on. Like I said, go check out the vault in my mystery Substack for like all of the stuff that I pulled from my Book of Shadows. What I pulled from this Book of Shadows, I'll send out another newsletter. And yeah, I hope y'all have an amazing rest of your Saturday. I love you all truly and deeply. And we'll see you soon. Bye.